Now this chili con carne recipe is not your average chili con carne that has mince in it and packet spice mix. I'm going to show you an authentic way of making it. I'm using beef cheeks for this recipe. I love them. They're a secondary cut, and when they're cooked long and slow, they turn into the most magical thing. So first up, we need to season them and sear them off. So in a hot pan, a good glug of olive oil. I've also preheated my oven to 160 degrees. I like to start it on the stove top and finish it off in the oven. Good pinch of salt. Now you'll need about 1 kilo of beef cheeks, so I've got 3 large ones here, or you could get 4 beef cheeks, up to you. In actual fact, this recipe is fantastic to do for batch cooking, so you can make a big batch of it and it freezes really well. So we'll just make sure that salt is on both sides. And you can see how there's a little fat through there, sinew. If you just sear them and serve them medium rare, they'll be tough as a boot. But after the slow cook, they really are so soft and tender and go so nicely with these Mexican flavours. Now, while they're sealing off, a few extra ingredients. Coriander. Usually we use all these beautiful leaves and forget about the stalks and throw them out. In actual fact, there's so much flavour in the roots and stalks, so I'm going to use the whole lot. We'll leave the leaves for a salsa later on. And for the stalks and roots, we'll just gather them together and then finally chop it. Okay, let's turn our beef cheek. Yes, good colour. Just like any stew, it's all about getting some wonderful colour at the beginning so we can develop the flavours. Got some chopped capsicum and some good old onion and also 3 cloves of garlic. Nice fat cloves of garlic for this. And we'll just bruise this. And again, just give it a chop. Don't have to be too pedantic with it because it is going to cook for a long time and dissolve into a lovely sauce. I'll take the beef cheeks out. In with our coriander and garlic. I will add just a little extra splash of extra virgin olive oil. And we'll add our capsicum, our onion, and then just give that a toss. I'll also season at this stage, salt and pepper, and then just let this cook down just for a few minutes before we start adding the spices. Got some cumin, we'll add that now, along with some ground coriander and good old dried oregano. I like a good hit of dried oregano. For that smokiness, some smoked paprika. And it looks like a lot, but you need it. We want to taste this in our gorgeous chili con carne. And cinnamon. Now, this is an ingredient I can't live without anymore, and some supermarkets do have them. If not, you can get them from all your delis. These are chipotle in adobo sauce. So they're smoked dried chilies, and they also have a little tomato sauce. They're fiery, so if you don't want it to be too hot, go easy on this, or you can leave it out if you want to make this for the kiddies. And I'll just chop that up and we can add it too. Let's mix everything together and toast off those spices. Beef cheeks can go back into our saute pan. Okay, we need to add a few more things here. Some tomatoes. You could use a can of tomatoes if you like. I'm going to use fresh and just roughly chop them. This is going to give some moisture to our dish. In they go. You can give them a squish to release some of the juices. And just to give it a little piquancy, I love the addition of some vinegar. So red wine vinegar, a splash of that in there to balance it all out, and some water. I'm just using water because it works a treat because there's so much flavour going on with all those spices. But if you like, you could use some beef stock or some chicken stock. You just want enough to almost cover our gorgeous little beef cheeks. And in with the kidney beans. And now I need to cover this with a cartouche. It's just a fancy word for a piece of baking paper. I'm just going to scrunch it, and that'll just make it much easier just to mould into our pan. It's just like a little security blanket so it stays nice and moist throughout the cooking process. Lid on, and now this goes into the oven, 160 degrees, I'd say for about 2 to 2.5 hours, or until the meat pulls away quite easily. Okay, the beef cheeks are nearly cooked, so I'm getting my salsa ready. And this is a little trick if you don't want to turn the barbecue on. If you want to get that smokiness with the corn, just place it directly onto an open flame like this. It doesn't need long at all, but we do want to get those char marks. It's incredible for a salsa like this. So take it off, and just with your knife, we want to take the corn kernels off the cob. Just cut straight down like that. This is not only for a delicious addition to these beef cheeks, but I just love the colour of the yellow, red from chili and coriander. I think sometimes slow-cooked dishes get a bad rap because they look that same colour. But if you give it a little pop of freshness with a salsa like this, it does make a difference. Okay, one long red chilli. I like the long red chilies because they're not too hot. You can leave the seeds in if you like. And I'll finely chop that. And I'm keeping mine just super simple with the coriander, the chili and the corn, a bit of lime. But you could add some onion to this. Pickled onion would be fantastic. Avocado, all those classics that you know so well with Mexican food. That's looking good. Into the bowl. Our coriander, just give that a rough chop. Pop that in. And lots of fresh lime. I love the acidity of it. So we'll give that a good squeeze. All nice and juicy. And always a pinch of salt. We'll give that a mix and we'll just let that sit there. Go and get some brown rice and we're almost good to go. All right, these beef cheeks have come out of the oven. I've just let them cool slightly and oh, that smell, I just love it. I never get sick of slow cooking. We'll take a little cartouche off and you can see how much they shrink. And you may say, well, that's not a lot of meat. But after you shred it and mix it with the beans and all of that delicious sauce, it is plenty for 4 people. So this is what it's all about. Look how soft and tender they are. And they're moist, they're not dry. That's because we had enough liquid in there and it's just such a pleasure to cook when it's cold outside. This is the food I crave so much, even when it's not cold. I love slow cooking meat just like this. Fold it through all the other ingredients and you're good to go. Now, there are so many different ways of serving this. You can serve it in a burrito, you can serve it in street tacos, or just simply with some brown rice. Beautiful and healthy for you. I've just steamed some brown rice. We'll pop that on the bottom there. And we'll just add a generous amount of this. And just to really show it off, we want that pop of colour. So our corn salsa can go on the top. These little speckles of chili, great addition. And you could add some yogurt to it, works a treat. I love my sour cream, so a generous dollop of that on the top. There we go. That's my idea of heaven on a plate. This recipe is in my latest book, The Slow Cook. Like I said, I love slow cooking anything, but beef cheeks would have to be my #1.